Hello, welcome to Poppin Predictions, where we believe movies aren't over at the end but are meant to be continued. You're here with Andy and Marqueze, where we ponder what happens in a story once the credits begin to roll. Andy, why don't you tell us about today's episode?
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited for today's podcast. This will be the first time we will be reviewing a movie that came out in 2020. This movie is called Run, just released on Hulu towards the end of November. Run is a movie about a homeschooled teenager who begins to suspect her mother is keeping a dark secret from her. This is a horror mystery film and is rated PG-13 for disturbing thematic content and some violence and horror. Just something to be aware of. Obviously, I just said this movie just came out in 2020, so if you haven't seen it already, be sure to check it out on Hulu. If you're still here, just know that spoilers are ahead. So, Marquise, why don't you go ahead and tell us kind of like a rundown on what this movie was like?
Yeah, so, as we previously mentioned, it's about a homeschool teenager who begins to suspect that her mother is keeping a dark secret from her. So, this teenager, important to know, so she's in a wheelchair. She has like rashes over her body. She's diabetic. Like, there's just all these issues going on with this teenager. And she, at one point, finds out that her mother is giving her some pill, but that she thinks the pill is prescribed to her mom. And so she's sitting here like, why is my mom giving me this pill that's prescribed to her? She should be taking this, not me. And so she's like, spends, like I would say, like the first, a decent chunk, like first maybe 30 minutes of this movie, trying to figure out like what this pill is, what's my mom doing? Like, this is all a little shady, what's going on.
Right.
And that being said, I think this movie has like a pretty slow start, I'll say. It kind of like lowered my hopes for like the first 30 minutes of the movie because it did not seem like it was going anywhere. That being said, around like a solid like 30, 45 minutes in, this movie ramps up and it ramps up quick. Going from, finding out that this medication her mom is giving her, like, it's not even for her. I mean, it's not even for her mom. Like this medication's meant for an animal. It's meant for a dog. It's dog medication. And she finds out that, her mother is basically just poisoning her, like giving her all this medication that's going to keep her sick. And so that way her mom can feel like like a mom and like take care of her and like protect her and all this stuff like that. So it's a classic case of like Munchausen syndrome, but yeah, I would say that's like the overall description of the movie. And then, once the daughter and mother both, realize what each other knows, it's one of those classic, like, how do I get out of this scenario films, and things get pretty intense pretty fast. But yeah, Andy, what about you? What'd you think?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I kind of agree with you. It had a little bit of a slow start. The movie kind of starts off focusing around the mom, Diane, played by Sarah Paulson from the American Horror Story series, if you're a fan of that. And then it kind of shifts gears towards the daughter once she's on to the thing that her mom's trying to do. It's just one of those things. It's like as someone who is in higher education, so as you know, like the reason that she was getting suspicious of her mom is because she's applying to school at some purple school in Washington, University of Washington. I might be biased against them, but sorry. But she becomes suspicious over her because of the fact that she's not hearing back any letters. And so the mom is kind of being really protective over her. And you see that a lot nowadays. Moms feel like they need to be there for their children. Totally justifiable, totally understandable. But obviously, to the degree that Diane was taking it was a little too far, a little too extreme. Yeah, the story definitely did pick up about 30 minutes in. I think a really important scene was when she was locked into, when Chloe, the daughter, when Chloe was locked into her bedroom, and she was able to break out of her bedroom. Mind you, she's in a wheelchair. She has asthma. Um, she is trying to like really do her best to outsmart her mom. Yeah. So her mom locks her into her room, and she does a really good job of outsmarting her by, heating up a pen to shatter the window, and then use spit water on it to create the cracks in order to do so. She like crawls through broken glass and gets through everything just to be able to attempt to escape, which really goes to show how smart this person is. Yeah, it definitely got better as the movie went on.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like it started pretty slow, and the character Chloe or herself, like, I don't know, it didn't, she wasn't really selling me at first, but then once the terror increased, she did
Right.
really good, I felt. And one of the first scenes you see in this movie is the mom is at some like parent conference things for like how to deal with their child going right to college or whatever. And there's one point where another mom looks at Diane and says, aren't you nervous about, Chloe? And, pretty much implying that, she's handicapped. She has all these, health issues. Aren't you worried about her going off to college? And Diane's like, Chloe is the most capable person I know, which I couldn't stop thinking about throughout the whole movie, because that's like a thesis statement for the whole movie. It's just kind of like,
basically, yeah.
She's constantly like locked in rooms, she can't do this. Like, she has to go through feats in order to like escape her mom's clutches, not having the use of her legs. And so she like is able to outthink her mom. She's able to outdo this, outdo that. And so like, that really is like an opening statement of like, she's the most capable person I know. Is like the whole movie is showing you how capable, this girl is, and actually, making sure that, she can escape.
Yeah. And I think there might have been some foreshadowing. Maybe I'm looking too far into it, but there definitely was some foreshadowing in her initial escape from the house, when she had to force herself down the stairs, because of the fact that she was already paralyzed or drugged, and so she lost the use of her legs. Like, because of the fact that she like was paralyzed, she was able to fall down the stairs with ease. But at the end of the movie, when she's trying to escape from the hospital, her mom falls down a flight of stairs, which then results in her getting hospitalized. And
I haven't thought about that.
yeah, no, it just kind of occurred to me that like, yeah, she just kind of fell down, like she had the benefit of already being paralyzed. So like when she fell down the stairs, like, yeah, of course that really hurt. But like she was able to kind of continue, but because of the fact that like her mom, I mean, of course she got shot, so like that probably plays a big part as to why she couldn't recover as well. Like, she fell down a flight of stairs and she was just like, yep, nope, I'm done. So it kind of like foreshadows some sort of things. Something that's also pretty important is that Chloe gets locked in, on top of being locked inside of her bedroom. Once she escapes from there, she gets recaptured by her mom again, and she gets locked in the basement. And in the basement, she finds out that that her mom, Diane, actually kidnapped her from birth, and that the original Chloe had died. And so the daughter is not actually like Diane's legitimate daughter, which is pretty interesting, pretty intense. And so that's kind of where the spiral comes down, where she goes to the hospital after that. And yeah, it was a pretty smart move on her to like ingest something that would send her to the hospital, because that was really her only way out. If you look back at that scene, like there was no way she was getting out of that basement alive if she didn't do something like that.
Yeah, no, yeah, I mean, it's wild because It really, so if I'm kind of describing like how this movie made me feel, like was it a good horror film or whatever? Did it actually terrify me? At first, I kind of would have said like no, like especially like I said, the first half of the movie, it's just kind of like what's going on, and then I was thinking to myself, all right, what's gonna happen? She's gonna find out her mom's trying to drug her, and then there's just gonna be this like tassel, like whatever's gonna go on. But it gets like pretty terrifying because like the mom plays a very, very, very loving mom the first half, but
Yeah,
like by the second half of the movie, like this woman is wild, yo. Like
it
she like
definitely it definitely turns into more of a thriller. It's not.
yeah.
I definitely would classify this more as a thriller than a horror movie film.
Yeah, you're definitely in suspense the whole time of like, oh crap, like what's gonna happen? Like, is this really gonna be the end of it for, Chloe? Like, is her mom gonna do this? And like every time you think that like it's not gonna amp up, it actually just kind of continues to amp up. And yeah, so it's pretty surprising, pretty good. Andy, so we the ending I'm gonna just let you talk about it, Andy. I'll let you go. How do you feel about the ending, and then how do you feel like this could be continued?
Yeah. So the ending, it ends in pause here. Um, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. So the ending, it was kind of weird. It kind of took a different direction than what I had anticipated, because the movie leading up to the end of the movie, um, Diane is trying to capture Chloe as they're trying to leave the hospital after Chloe. Oh gosh, pause. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, Diane is trying to take Chloe and escape from the hospital, and Diane gets after they get confronted by the police at the exit. Diane gets shot down the stairs, and you really could have hypothetically ended it there. Maybe go into one more conclusion scene where Chloe is out and going to college or something like that. But what ends up really happening is that Diane survives her fall down a flight of stairs and getting shot in the shoulder, which to me is kind of amazing because Diane's
Hmm.
not a big woman. She's like kind of like a petite woman, and so like and it was a pretty big staircase. So for
Yeah.
her to get shot and fall down the stairs and still survive uh, was pretty remarkable to me. But it ends off where it takes off 7 years in the future, and Diane is still in the hospital. It's in an infirmary. Um, it's kind of unclear what type of hospital it is. To me, it kind of seemed like a more of like a mental hospital
Hmm.
than like a physical hospital. That's what I was kind
Yeah.
of thinking it was. And Diane com- Diane's in the bed, and Chloe comes in, and you see her rolling to a metal detector, gets up, walks through the metal detector, and then rolls out. Um, sees her mom in bed, and she's having a nice conversation, talking about her kids, talking about the family.
Almost like an awkwardly nice conversation.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. All things considered, like very awkwardly polite.
Yeah.
Like
Just
not
talking
like
about like
a
her children and all this.
yeah, not like a I hate you. Like yeah, so it becomes very apparent why she actually visits her mom at the end of the movie when she takes some drugs out of her that she snuck in through her mouth to give to her mom, and she says that this is goodbye, and then she says open wide to kind of give her mom these drugs, um, which kind of leaves to interpretation that like she is going to give her these drugs to kill her, um, and so to me, that's kind of where it kind of leaves off. She potentially gives her these drugs to kill her, after keeping her alive for 7 years. Maybe she kept her alive to show how she would be successful without her love, without her care, because she was applying to go to the University of Washington to study medicine, and she was talking about how like she was able to give prosthetic limbs to these children for the first time, and like they were super excited about them. So my theory is that for the past 7 years, she has been going to that hospital, giving her mom the same drugs that she was giving her, so that her mom would never recover and never be able to leave the hospital to try to do anything else to her. Because the mom didn't say anything when she went to visit her. She just kind of laid there, and she looked like she was pretty bruised up. But she definitely recognized Chloe. So I think for the past 7 years, she was going back to give her the drugs, and make sure that she would never recover, so that she wouldn't be able to stop Chloe from living her life.
Yeah, no, so that's exactly what I fully agree, is that like it looks like Chloe was giving her, and like just to mention too, the whole time Chloe's trying to figure, like the first 30 minutes of the movie, she's trying to figure out what this like green and white pill is, that her mom's giving her. And then at the very last scene when she gives her mom these pills, it's the exact same pills. And so Chloe found out that those pills were the ones that were paralyzing her. And so she's now giving them to her mom, and it really throws you off because, as I said, like she rolls up to her mom, and she's having like just the most polite conversation. You're like, there's no way they squashed all this beef. Like you're just like, this is awkward. Like she's so polite. She's just like having this nice conversation, talking about her husband and her kids, and like just like little Timmy wouldn't have this, just like the nicest thing. And then
didn't she look kind of scared to see her? Didn't
the mom looked scared to see her. The mom looked terrified. And so you're kind of like, what the hell is going on? And then all of a sudden, it is just like, it gets so dark so fast when she spits the bag of pills out her mouth and tells her mom to open up.
Yeah, I know.
And it's just kind of like, I mean, I get it, but this is dark.
Yeah. All right. So here's a hypothesis. Over the past 7 years, like, so after the initial ending happens, when she gets separated from her mom goes to the hospital, she lives her life. Chloe, in my mind, you see in the movie, she gets accepted to the University of Washington. She gets her degree. What if she was using her mom for the past 7 years to test like different sort of drugs and stuff like that, and she was using her mom as sort of like a human test subject? Because she just looked really scared. Like, I don't know. That would be really wild. Like, there's no real inclination as to like that she would do that. But if you think about it, like, her mom's not talking, so maybe when she got injured, like she wasn't able to speak, and no one's gonna really, if she's in an insane asylum, if she's in a mental hospital, no one's gonna believe that she was giving drugs, like, for various reasons. And we saw how easily it was for Chloe to get into the hospital without like getting caught of smuggling in those smuggling the drugs. So you have the perfect patient, a patient who can't talk back, a person who has wronged you, and a person who is sick, and you're studying medicine. And you're trying to help others. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, to me at least, to get some sort of revenge, to have this like human test subject that can't defend themselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the wildest, because we do see that like she's a very kind of scientific mind, like once again, Chloe's very capable. She's like able to figure out all these things and whatnot, and working on science projects all the time. And so it's not completely wild that she would, be, some type of science major when she goes off to college, and then, just as revenge on her mom, just starts, taking these different medications or whatever, or experiments, and just starts going ham on her mom. Like, it's 100% possible. I see more so though that what happens,
like, why else would she visit her? Like, why else would she visit her mom for 7 years in a row?
I think she just wants to torture her
mom. There
has
to be some sort of explanation.
I think that's
what I'm saying.
I think
she used these drugs to torture her.
Yeah. I think though that very specifically she's just giving her mom, I mean, it could be just that one same drug over and over again, the one that keeps your legs paralyzed. Um, also shout out, that was one of the best scenes in the movie too, where Chloe realizes that her mom's giving her medicine for dogs, and like she just like
Yes.
has this
Oh,
complete
she
panic
just
attack.
freezes. Yeah.
Yeah, just completely freezes, and like the pharmacist is like, what's wrong?" And like it's legit one of the like most just like, oh my god scenes. Like you feel like you're right there with her, and just the shock and awe, of, like,
Yeah.
oh my god, this woman is crazy.
Did you
um,
ever think? Did you ever think during the movie? Because like throughout the film, like once she stops taking the drugs, she does get use of her legs back. Did you ever once think that she would like walk again, like that you'd see her walk or do something with her legs?
Yes. So I did think that pretty often too. Like I almost wondered if they were gonna try to pull a whole like she's not supposed to be able to escape, but turns out like she finally has enough movement back in her legs so she's able to like escape with something. But they never did that. They constantly they'll show you that she's getting some feeling back,
Yeah,
but her the use of her legs never helps her at any point. Or her legs never help her at any point, in her escape, which is where I thought they were going to go. Instead, the only time you see her actually using her legs was during that last scene, like you mentioned, where she's walking through the metal detector real quick. And, it's kind of weird because if she's able to like kind of regain feeling within just seemingly a couple of days of not taking the pills, she's able to regain feeling and move her toes. And then 7 years later, she can barely walk. I don't know enough about physical therapy to know if like that makes sense, but it just kind of seemed odd to me that like she was able to regain feeling in a couple of days, but it still took her 7 years to like be able to barely walk through a metal detector.
yeah. No,
Is it
I
just me
was
or does that seem
definitely
off?
I. No, I was so. I don't think you're off. I really would have been mad. I'm not gonna lie to you. I really would have been mad if she would have. I was getting upset actually. I was getting upset when she was showing that she had use of her legs again because I
Mhm.
really thought that they were going to go down that road of like, oh no, she has use of her legs again. She can run or she could walk away. And like,
Yeah.
I know that I don't have any personal experience with physical therapy, but I have family members that have gone through physical therapy, and I know seeing them through the process that like if she were to have done anything like that, I would have been very upset. Like I would have just been
Yeah.
like, that's not how that works. Like you can't just like start walking, especially because it seems like she didn't know she could walk her entire life. I was also getting frustrated at the end of the film because like the way that everyone was positioned, like Chloe and the police officers were facing like one way, and Diane was facing the police officers and Chloe. And so the whole time I'm thinking to myself, please don't have Chloe kick like Diane down the stairs. Like that also is not realistic. Like that's not like
Like a
I
Spartan
literally
kick, yeah.
yeah, I was thinking 300 here. I was thinking like please don't 300 her. Like like
Would have been
I was so
hilarious.
I would have been so mad. That really would have that would have killed the movie for me if she did that because like realistically like she just she wouldn't have been able to do that. So I was glad that she wasn't able to do that. I do think that it would
She would have
take
got a
her
murder
time.
charge.
No, I don't think she would have. I think that it still would have been self defense. Well, I don't know. The cops
Yeah.
were there. It
The
could have
mom
been.
wasn't doing
It could
anything
have
to
been.
her at that point. She just kicked her down
No,
the stairs.
you know what? It could have been murder. You're right. You're right. You're right. It definitely could have been murder. So probably a good thing she didn't pull a 300.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. So I'm just glad that she never really was able to use her legs, and I think that the 7 year timeline would be. I don't know if it would be completely realistic. Like again, that's where my knowledge of physical therapy ends.
Yeah.
It like she was taking those drugs that took away her movement pretty much all her life, except for like the very beginning part where there are photographs of her running, so that's how she knows that something's off um,
Mhm.
in the basement. But like, you got to be thinking she was on those drugs for at least 10 years, if not longer
Yeah,
than 10 years. And
at
so,
least.
like, it realistically 7 years for how much walking she did could be enough. Could be enough time for her to begin walking again.
Yeah, and I mean, I also feel like I guess it was just the fact that like they showed so quickly that she was getting feeling back in her legs.
Mm.
That just like how they did both timelines to make no sense. I feel like she got feeling super quick, but then I feel like it took her
Yes.
super long to be able to walk. I guess that's my
Yeah, because
biggest thing is that was drastic in like their difference of timelines.
like if they were establishing the timeline that like she was getting her feeling back in her legs like days after being off the drugs, then realistically she shouldn't. Like I could see her walking with the cane like she did during that last scene, but like
Hmm.
she shouldn't have been. She like with how they were setting it up, she really shouldn't have needed the wheelchair. Now like they made it so that she still needed the wheelchair, but like
Hmm.
I don't think she really needed it. She should have, at least with the universe that they were creating.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I mean, so what do you think that she just continues to drug her mom like until her mom just dies naturally, or like because I mean this vendetta shows that like she's been like purposely coming back to her mom every however often it is. I don't know whether it's
Do you
daily,
think it's every
weekly,
day?
monthly. I mean, her mom gave her those pills every day, and within 3 days of not taking them, she was getting her feeling back. So she has to be giving them to her mom with some type of frequency, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
But then again, when she was having the conversation with her mom, saying like, "Oh, you know, little Timmy's doing this, my husband doing this," it does sound like one of those, you know, weekly or monthly visits more so than daily. Um, and so I'm not sure how often, but either way, she's coming back for like 7 years on some type of regular basis. And like,
Right.
you know, at least I can't imagine anything less than monthly for those pills to be really effective. And so she's coming back with at least monthly, if not weekly, if not daily basis to give her mom these pills. And it's just kind of like, I guess my question, like, well, one is like, yeah, do you see her just doing that forever? Or two, my other question is, do you feel like Chloe is justified in doing that?
Oh, those are. I like that second question. Um, I don't. I think that last scene. I think she
Mm-hmm.
kills her. I think the drugs that she gives her because she says this is goodbye. So open your mouth. Um, so either she is killing her in that scene, or she is moving on and like this is the last dose that she's giving her. But like, I don't think whatever the context is, either she kills her or she moves on. Like, I think that that is the last straw. Like, I think that's the last time. Is she justified? Um, I'm gonna say no. I'm
Okay.
gonna say no. I don't like. I just I'm not up for the whole revenge bit.
Yeah.
Um, like she got away. She got the future she wanted. You know, I really would like to assume that she went to UW. She got her degree and she's living a very happy life. And for her to like just keep going back to her past to torture her mother, like you're going out of your way to do that. Whereas her
Mm-hmm.
mom was like mentally unstable. I would say she had some sort of like, yeah, I would say she was mentally, I would say the mom was mentally unstable because she was doing it because she was taking, in her mind, that was how she took care of her.
Yeah.
And so like that's how she justified it in her brain, was like, I'm taking care of her. And the best way I can take care of her is by making sure she can never leave me.
Yeah.
Whereas that what Chloe would doing if what Chloe was doing if she was poisoning her for 7 years straight, like that's just straight up revenge. Like that's revenge. That's making sure she can't escape to try to come after her.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's not doing it in the essence of care, where I think that Diane was. And so I don't think she's justified. You could make the argument, though, and now I'm going to argue with myself. You could make the
Now
you
I'm going
could
to
make
argue
the
with
argument.
myself.
Yeah, I don't need you, Marquise. I'm just gonna argue with myself here for the next 5 minutes. Um, you could make the argument that like, does she really care about her if she doesn't care about her future and she is just like drugging her to make sure she can never leave, or is she just like dependent on Chloe to be happy with her life? Um, I don't think either path leads you to the justification of Chloe's actions, but I think that it could make like it could make the justified argument a little bit easier if you go down that rabbit hole of, does Diane really care about her, or does Diane really love her if she is giving Chloe drugs so that she can't leave?
I guess. I mean, I get you. I get you. You're right, but like you said, obviously Diane's sick, right? Diane has some mental health issue that she has to deal with, like the fact that her baby dies as she's like on delivery, basically, and then she steals another couple's baby. Like your average person won't do that,
Yeah.
you know. And then she's
No.
poisoning the child for its whole life, you know. And so obviously she is not mentally well. So we don't even have to question that. But I mean, I'm not saying it excuses what she does, but it makes sense. She's a mentally ill person, so she thinks giving her child, you know, this medicine that's going to keep her paralyzed is good, because I mean, she gets to be a good mother now. You know, she's a sick person.
Yes.
Whereas Chloe's not doing this out of some, you know, mental health instability. Chloe's getting revenge. And so
right, exactly.
It makes Chloe doing it in a way it felt a whole lot darker actually than when her mom did it, to be honest.
I agree.
And so it kind of like doesn't turn Chloe into the villain. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, if someone drugged me like that for, you know, 15, 17 years of my life, like, I'm not saying I wouldn't feel some type of way about it, or, you know, I wouldn't want to get revenge. But like it's just like, you know, at a certain point, like her mom, you could argue that her mom didn't know better, obviously, just because of how unstable she was. Whereas Chloe, like, knows that this is a messed up thing to do, and now is choosing to do it out of revenge.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I think we're on the same path of like, it's not justified.
Yeah.
I think it's understandable, but it's still wrong to do. If that's the path that she's taking, to just drug her for 7 years. And then what causes her to, like, if she does go, what causes her to end it? Like, if that's like the last treatment that she's giving her, like, because there's no way that it take like one capsule is like 7 years worth of supply. So like, what causes 7 years down the line for her to say, you know what, I'm done torturing my mom? So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that is weird. If like, so at first, because that's why I originally was actually going to disagree with you and saying I don't think she kills her mom, because like, why all of a sudden now? Like, I think it's just showing us the fact that even for 7 years, she like is actually going to be on this revenge tour. You know, it's like really trying to hurt her mom.
That's fair.
But I did think about it, and when she spits the bag of pills out, like her mom was only giving her one of those pills per day.
Yeah,
like
she was giving her three.
What, 3?
She had 3.
Yeah, there were 3 of those. And so, and I don't remember the goodbye part, so I'll have to like watch that part again to actually like clarify that. But if she gives her 3 of those pills, I could see that doing some damage. So you're right, that might have been a final goodbye, which they don't explain to us why that would be the final goodbye, which is just once again another reason why I didn't think it was. But that was a lot of pills.
Yeah, I really think it was the final goodbye. But I don't understand why 7 years. Like, it would make I was gonna say it would make more sense if it was like the time that it took for Chloe to like fully establish herself and like become fully independent.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I just don't understand why it was 7 years. Maybe it just doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like, maybe the time frame doesn't matter how long it took for her to make the decision. Because you could I don't think the conversation. Actually, I think the longer it takes, the more of the whole like Chloe is not justified in doing so. Maybe it just got to the point where Chloe's like, you know what, like I'm done going back to the hospital. I'm done torturing her. I'm just gonna go ahead and end this for her.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I appreciate about this film that we usually give like that we usually are critical about is it did not give too much of a backstory to Diane. And I think that that
Yeah.
was really important that it did not give Diane much of a backstory because you would feel more attachment to Diane depending on what the backstory was. You'd have more attachment to Diane than Chloe, which I think the movie wants you to be on Chloe's side. Um, and if we know too much about Diane, maybe we would be more sympathetic to Diane. Like I think finding out at the end of the movie that that her actual baby Chloe died, I think that that was enough information to know that like this is a really sad story, but also like it's also pretty twisted and pretty sick that she
Yeah.
kidnapped Chloe, like the other baby at birth. So I think if we knew more about Diane, like maybe we don't know about the husband, the father is never in the film. It's literally just Diane and Chloe, and you don't hear anything like there's no mentioning of a husband or a partner. I don't even want to just say this hetero relationships. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't have any mentioning of a partner.
None at
Um,
all.
which,
Which is
which
kind
I
of odd. I thought they would like usually. I mean, now it makes sense with the ending or not ending, but like them showing us the fact that she kidnapped the child. But yeah, I did think that was kind of odd originally. Of like they don't mention at any point like a husband dying, a husband being away. Not even when she's like. Not even when she just has the baby and the baby's like getting like in the ICU or whatever. Like at no
yeah.
point is any partner ever mentioned.
Yeah, and I don't remember seeing because their house had a lot of photos. I don't remember seeing any photos of a dad present
Mm-hmm.
um, throughout Chloe's life. So it does kind of make sense that maybe the dad was never the husband slash dad slash partner was never in the picture to begin with because then you'd have to explain how they were okay with Diane kidnapping a baby other than maybe the partner not knowing that Diane kidnapped the baby. But then you'd have to be like, how did they not know about Chloe dying?
Yeah, exactly.
All this to
Um,
say, I think that they did a good job of like once the movie got going, they did a good job of storytelling and telling you exactly what you needed to know and not too much.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think they gave us what we needed. I love the fact that they didn't spend a ton of time on backstory. I love the fact that like once it kind of started amping up in intensity, it stayed there. Like there were no like it was slow to start, but once it really got started, it didn't slow down. You know, it just kept going until
Yeah,
the movie ends. So I did like
yeah, I
that.
agree.
I liked the end. Like so, typically, Andy, Andy and I watch a lot of movies. You know, whether it's just for the podcast or just for fun. And a big criticism, oftentimes, is the ending. You know, ending of these movies. We actually one of the first movies we watched together that was originally going to be for the podcast, but for multiple reasons we decided not to. Was American Psycho. And both of us absolutely, you know, loved the movie, but the ending, we rented for like 30 or 40 minutes just of how the ending was not very satisfying. And so I was happy that, like, at first, when it kind of showed her, and or at first I thought it was going to end when the mom died, right? Like, or
Right.
what I thought, at least I thought died when she gets shot and falls on the stairs. And then I was about to be so mad because I was like, it started off slow, it got really good. And then I was like, this is a horrible ending. I was like, there's no major conflict like that's like bringing upon the ending. It's simply just the fact that like the mom is, you know, like kidnaps the daughter from the hospital, and then, you know, it's like trying to rush her out, and, you know, I was like, oh, if she just dies by like police showing up real quick, shooting her and falling down the steps. Like there was no like real big struggle for the final, battle between her and her mom. And
Right.
so for me, I was just kind of like, oh, that's such a weak way if they have her just die falling down these steps. So I'm really, really glad that they decided to continue it and have the mom kind of have to, like with like being fed the pills from her daughter, like that, like to me, that definitely saved the ending. Because if they would have ended with her just falling down the steps, I would have been like, "This is horrible. This is absolutely trash." But
so you like the ending. So you like the ending.
It's better. I mean, it's not the best thing, but it is better than them just ending it with the mom falling down the stairs, which is what I thought they were going to do.
Fair. How would you have ended it if you
they made it more twisted?
How would you have ended it or would you have it, or would you change the ending?
Personally, I mean, I do love the fact that she was getting better and just feeding her mom these pills. Like, I love how they made it dark. Like, I love dark endings. And so, I liked it. If I did have to change anything about it, I still would have liked to have the more dramatic finale scene though, between her and her mom. Like I said, it seemed like being rescued from the hospital, there should have been more that happened, but literally or kidnapped from the hospital, but literally it's just her mom kidnaps her from the hospital, is rolling her down the hallway. She gets stopped by security, and then she points a gun at him and security shoots her. Like, it's just like, it's that there's really no big showdown that happened, which I felt like should have happened between because there's plenty of moments when Chloe is at like a standoff with Diane, and like shit just kind of goes crazy. And so I was kind of surprised for that final scene they kind of didn't do it, and so I would have still had that. But overall, like when it comes to the ending with the pills being fed to her, I thought that was great.
See, I don't know, I would have liked I actually would have liked if it ended at the stairs. Like, if it ended, like you saw her get shot and her fall down the stairs, because then you would know that she got away. Like that not that she got away, that Chloe was fine, and that Chloe got away, and that would maybe I'm guilty in that I hope it would have ended that way, because then we could have speculated more as a podcast.
Yeah. So that being said, Andy, like, would you recommend this film?
I'm conflicted. I was not super in love with the plot. I felt like the plot was very basic. The curveball wasn't really that original. It was a good movie. I would recommend it, but it wouldn't be one of the films that I'm like, you need to go out and see this movie right away. Like, I would say have it on your wait list, and if you have nothing to do or you want to watch a good film, like, watch this. But like, it's not something that I'm like, you need to stop what you're doing and watch this film. And so for me, for our rating system, for those who don't know, our rating system, we compare it to popcorn sizes, from small to big bucket. And so for me, I'm kind of leaning towards giving this one a medium. It definitely took a little bit while to get into it. The plot wasn't super original, but the acting was really good, especially as the movie went on. And it definitely kept my attention for the most part of the movie. It just wasn't very original, and I would say it was kind of predictable. What about you, Marquise?
Yeah, so I mean, I had saw the trailer for this, and like, I guess, I mean, it's hard. Like, I mean, I would recommend, like, I think if you want a cool little thriller, it's like worth the watch. But yeah, the plot is very predictable, and like from the trailer, they let you know that she's being fed some pills that are not hers, and so like for the first 30 minutes, she's trying to figure out, is she being fed these pills like that aren't hers, and like what is this pill? So like you already know what she's trying to figure out for the first 30 minutes of the movie. But once like the moment that she figures out that it's animal medication and that her mom's like poisoning her, then it turns into a solid thriller. But once again, that's not like 30-40 minutes in. And so, that being said, like it did a good job of terrorizing me, even though like I knew the plot, like the question, like after 30 minutes, the question is no longer is her mom poisoning her. The question is how she's going to survive her mom, which that you don't know how it's going to go. And so that became good at that point. It's like a survival, how she's going to survive her mom's clutches. And then, like I said, as we already mentioned, the ending, how I feel about the ending. So I would overall recommend it. I think it's a fun thriller to watch. Like I said, just kind of got to get past the first 30 minutes or so. Because there are some solid thrills in it, I would say. Overall, I think I'm also going to have to give this a medium, though. It's not high enough caliber for me to consider it, especially when it comes to like the thriller genre. It's not high enough caliber for me to consider it large bucket, but like it's worth a watch. I would like if I'm making a medium, it's like it's worth a watch if you just want to be entertained real quick.
Yeah, that sounds good. So our viewers, our very amazing viewers, what did you think of our prediction? What did you think of Run? Do you agree with what we talked about here? Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Poppin and let us know what your thoughts are. And remember to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right, y'all. Have a good one.